April is one of my favourite times of the year to get out and explore nature. The days are getting longer, migrants are beginning to return, and many birds are already busy preparing for the breeding season. Today, I'm visiting one of Berkshire's best wildlife reserves, RSPB Moor Green Lakes. Made up of lakes, reed beds, woodland and grassland, this reserve is home to an incredible variety of wildlife throughout the year. But today, I have one species in mind, the Goosander. Also known as the common merganser, the Goosander is one of Britain's most impressive ducks. Built for catching fish, these sleek diving birds are specialists of rivers, reservoirs and lakes. I've seen them before, but every sighting feels special. The question is, can I find one today? Let's explore more green lakes and see what wildlife we can discover along the way. As I arrived at the reserve, it immediately felt like one of those perfect spring mornings. The woodland was alive with birdsong, blackbirds sang from hidden perches, robins called from the undergrowth, and every corner seemed to hold the promise of a new wildlife encounter. One of the things I love about reserves like Moor Green Lakes is that even when you arrive with a target species in mind, the journey is often just as rewarding as the destination. Sometimes the unexpected sightings become the highlights of the day. That was certainly the case today. Before I had even reached the lakes, I came across something truly special, a long-tailed tit nest. Long-tailed tits build some of the most remarkable nests in the bird world. Using moss, lichens, feathers and spider silk, they create an elastic structure that can expand as their chicks grow. The outside blends perfectly into surrounding vegetation, making it incredibly difficult to spot. Finding one of these nests is always a privilege. It serves as a reminder of just how much effort goes into raising the next generation of birds. I spent several minutes simply admiring this tiny masterpiece before continuing on my journey. Not long afterwards, another familiar face appeared, a European rabbit. Although they're often overlooked because they're so common, rabbits are an important part of many ecosystems. Their grazing helps shape grassland habitats, while their burrows provide shelter for a variety of other animals. This individual seemed completely relaxed, pausing occasionally to feed while keeping a watchful eye on its surroundings. Moments like this are a reminder that even our most familiar wildlife deserves appreciation. As I approached the main lakes, the scenery really began to open up. The water stretched out before me, surrounded by reeds, woodlands and patches of spring greenery. It was one of those days where simply being outdoors felt rewarding. The calm water reflected the sky above while birds moved constantly across the reserve. Everywhere I looked, there was something happening. One of my next highlights came at a feeding station. Perched prominently on the feeder was a male reed bunting. This species is strongly associated with reed beds and wetlands, and is one of the characteristic birds of habitats like these. The male's black head and white collar make him particularly striking during the breeding season. For several minutes he moved back and forth between the feeder and nearby vegetation, providing fantastic views. With the lakes now in front of me, there was no shortage of bird life to enjoy. Mallards drifted quietly across the water, coots squabbled with one another over territory, Canada geese stood guard along the shoreline, and tufted ducks rested on the open water. Every species was making use of the reserve in its own way. It's this diversity that makes Moor Green Lakes such a rewarding place to visit. Among the many birds on the water, one species immediately caught my attention, the great crested grebe. Elegant, graceful and unmistakable, these birds are famous for their spectacular courtship displays. Although I wasn't lucky enough to witness the full display today, it was still fantastic to spend time watching one. Grebes are superb divers, spending much of their time underwater in pursuit of fish. Watching them disappear beneath the surface and reappear somewhere completely different never gets old. However, while enjoying all these sightings, I hadn't forgotten my original mission, the Goosander. I continued scanning the lakes carefully. Every distant duck received closer attention through my binoculars. Could that be the one? No. What about that bird further out? Not quite. Finding wildlife often involves patience. Sometimes success comes quickly, other times it takes persistence. Goosanders are fascinating birds. Unlike many ducks, they specialise in catching fish. Their long narrow bill contains tiny backward-facing serrations that help grip slippery prey. They're powerful divers and can stay underwater for surprisingly long periods while hunting. Because of their fish-eating lifestyle, they're usually found on larger lakes, reservoirs and rivers where prey is plentiful. The search continued. The reserve was producing fantastic wildlife. The scenery was beautiful, but the target bird remained elusive. As the morning progressed, I began checking every section of the open water more carefully. Surely there had to be one somewhere. Then, suddenly, there it was, a goosander, exactly what I had been hoping to find. Out on the lake, the bird drifted calmly across the water. Its sleek profile immediately stood out from the surrounding ducks. After spending so much time searching, finally finding the species felt incredibly rewarding.